We are no, because we are 11 now. I don't think that there's much more people coming, but we could wait a bit or start right now.
I think we should start.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the boss. You decide.
So yeah, we are gonna discuss the short story "Good Man is Hard to Find." It's written in 1953, I think, if I remember correctly, and it's like the most famous short story of this author, who is Flannery O'Connor. We could start like always, like with the first round of first impressions, if you like it or not. So we start with the order that I have in my screen. So Adrian, do you like it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It wasn't very surprising. There was nothing much special there, but I enjoyed reading it. I didn't like the religious parts, but even those fit with the grandmother and what could you expect from a grandmother talking about maybe not Jesus in Spain, but about God and religion and how you have to be good. And in general, I think it's well written. For what I saw, it's very typical Flannery O'Connor with the violence, the criminals, the religion even, because it's part of her works. So overall, it's I think it's a good story.
Okay, so Sarah, welcome. How do you like the story?
Yes, well, my name is Raquel.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I really liked it. One thing that one of the things that I liked the most was the grandma's character. She's so obnoxious, and everything that she says, everything that she does, I can see that she's so manipulative. And everything that she does leads to an end that is like a predestination for them all. And well, that's the thing that I liked the most about the story.
Okay, Jessica, you're next.
Okay. I have to say I can't be with you long. Just to leave that there. I honestly didn't know what to make of it. I enjoyed it, but I don't know what to think. It's well written. The characters are well described in few sentences or by their actions or their words. I mean, I don't think anybody feels much pity for the family being murdered because they're all insufferable. I was expecting more religion at the end because I'd read a bit about her biography. The grandmother was like grandmothers, many grandmothers worldwide. I'm just interested to hear your opinions because I did enjoy it, but I can't really say why.
Okay, Angela?
Yeah, hi. For me, it was more or less the same. I like reading, I enjoy it, but I didn't love it. It was, I don't know, like I was thinking, sure that in the end something bad happened with this guy, and for me it was like super predictable. And I didn't like also the part of religion, but I like the grandma character. I think that it was super well described. So for me, it was, I don't know, 6, for example. It's a good number. I forgot the paper.
Today.
Yes.
We could do a poll today.
Yeah, let's do a poll.
Aurora?
Hi. I like this story very much. I think it's very good. A very good story. Very well told. It's like a snapshot or a postcard of a group of people in the, I mean, from the southern state and this special this specific moment in time, in the mid-50s or so. And I like how it's the characters are described, how this woman who is absolutely annoying, and how she leads them to this tragedy, you know. But I think it's very, it describes very well the moment and the society, the characters, the groups, and I really like this story. Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Okay, Colleen, you're next.
Yeah, I like the story too. I actually didn't find it predictable. I didn't expect the ending. I expected her to talk about this serial killer and then, just to kind of scare the family. Yeah, I also thought it was interesting that I think almost none of the characters were really likable. So that was,
Exactly.
usually in stories, there's at least one you like, and I didn't really like any of those. So anyway, but yeah, I liked the story. It was good.
Eloisa?
Okay, I like the story, but I think I have too high expectations about the story, and I didn't like it as much as I thought I would do it. Yeah, what everybody says is well written. For me, it was predictable. As soon as I saw I read about the other car, I thought, okay, yes, that's going to be the Misfits. I'm not sure it's because all the characters are so despicable. That's why I didn't like the story. But probably at the end of the discussion, I would like it more. Like usually with these discussions, I say, oh yeah, this I didn't knew that. Yeah, probably I would like it more.
So Eugenia?
I really liked the story. I thought the characters were not very likable, but I have soft spot for the grandmother because she reminded me of my granny. So I really did somehow like her and somewhat don't like her. And also I really enjoyed the character of Misfit. He has such a super villain name. I really liked it, and also.
Yeah.
I love it when bad guys are polite and very, very nice because it makes a very nice contrast with what they really do. And I love seeing it because in real life, not all bad guys or people who do bad things are all very cartoonish and wahaha, but they can be very nice and then stab you in the back. And that's what happens in this story. Because the grandma is obviously thinking that the more she tries to sweet talk him, the less chance she'll have of being killed. But I really enjoy the characterization of all the people that appear in the story. And yeah, I agree that it wasn't a very lovable story that has a lot of fans, but I think it was very enjoyable.
Okay, Ale, I think you mentioned the story before, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I read this story a month ago after I finished To Kill a Mockingbird. And so I decided to read more about Deep South, about the South of the United States. And in the To Kill a Mockingbird, you feel a lot of emotions, but you end up with a smile. So I was expecting this also to end up with a smile. So for me, it wasn't predictable. I wasn't expecting anything when I read this. So for me, it was shocking. And so after that, I continued reading more about this author. And I have to say, it's not the best story, maybe, but I think it's the most recognizable, and I think it's the best start if you want to continue reading her stories. She has even more characters that are more despicable, more you can hate more of those characters, but yeah, I liked it. At first. I wasn't expecting anything, and this was like.
Okay, Mo?
Yeah, I feel a little bit like Jessica. I think I'm not really sure what I thought about it. Like there were points that I was enjoying it while I was reading it, and there was points that I wasn't enjoying it very much when I was reading it. So I kind of went back and forth. I'm interested to hear what people found so annoying about the grandmother, because I could tell she was supposed to be annoying. Like I could tell that's how you were supposed to react from how it was written. But like, I don't know, I just found her like a normal old lady. Like, and I guess the rest of the family I really, really didn't like. So by comparison, I was like, if I had to pick one of them to hang out with, it would be the grandmother. So I don't know, like, I'm interested to hear what specifically people found about her that was so annoying. And yeah, I think the one part that I didn't love so much was the characterization of the bad guys. They did feel a little cartoonish to me, or not even cartoonish, but just very like typical of that era. Like that's the classic like gangster bad guy, whatever. Like I feel like I've seen it a lot in media from that era. So that part I didn't enjoy so much, just because I encountered it before, I guess, a lot. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, and Nuria, welcome. We were still in the first round, so if you want to say what do you think about the story?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. I'm late, sorry. And sorry for my terrible English. Southern Gothic is too hard for me. I'm in shock now because I just read too fast, maybe. I have a disturbing sensation about the story itself, but basically with Flannery. I mean, it's like a true detective's new blood, no? An illness woman surrounded by peacocks, Catholic, alone in the social life with this terrible and evil and strong internal world. I want to be away from this emotional real life. Too strong for me.
Okay. Well, I like the story. Even though I'm not sure if this kind of southern horror story is my favorite, but I like the style of the story. I really like the way she describes of all the characters, and even though I agree they are not like very likable characters, I like the way they are made. So I enjoyed the story. I don't know, we could start. I think I want to ask you also a lot of questions about the story, because I'm not sure if I understand completely the message of the I don't know, the taste you have to have of the different characters. So we could start with the grandmother, of course, because I think she's absolutely a main character in the story, like since the beginning. What do you think about the story? Because I thought it was such a frustrating character. Like I like the way the character is made, but so frustrating. So what do you think?
I think grandmother is a symbol of life system in decadence. Like I find similarities with Faulkner's story, A Rose for Emily, but I think it's a symbol of the change.
A symbol of change.
See, yes, about a life-changing system, economic, changing system of life, about the decadence of a social class, a cultural system, something like that. I understand that.
And I thought the grandmother, I felt like she was in some ways I mean, she had some good sides. She was I felt like she was manipulative in a way, in her trying to get the family to go to Tennessee because she wanted to, instead of Florida. But then sometimes, you know, she would correct the children when they were being rude. And there were some things that, yeah, were just very typical of older people, like thinking of the past and how great it was. One really shocking thing for me at the end was that she didn't seem to care at all that he was killing her family members. She seemed to only care about that he was maybe going to kill her. I kept expecting her to show, when he pulled her son and her grandson to the woods, to show some shock and some, please don't kill my son, don't kill my grandson. But there was nothing. She seemed to be very concerned only about herself. So that, and for me, that's not very typical of grandmothers. I found that very atypical.
Well, she
Yeah.
was in a state of total shock. I mean, she starts blabbering at the end. She doesn't finish her sentences. She doesn't really know what she's saying. You know, just Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. She is in a state of shock. I don't know whether she's going to die or her family, but she's definitely in a state of shock. Just a comment. Yeah, I thought she was typical of the time, of an older person of the time. There was a phrase that struck me while I was reading it, when she says, "Oh, look, a pickaninny," and I just, oh my God.
Yeah,
That,
I have to look
who on earth
the word up.
It's the
says that?
racism in the South from that time. Yeah, it's in her nigger boy, and all of those things were very typical.
Yeah. And I think all the characters not being likable, it's sort of the title, yeah, good man is hard to find, man in the sense of a person.
Yeah.
They found no one, not the bad people, not the good people, not the innocent people, no one at all, which is quite depressing. Not even Jesus, no, because then the misfit goes on to say that he shouldn't have woken the dead and things, so nobody.
Yeah. Even the people in the restaurant they went to, I mean, they started talking about how you can't trust anyone, and it was very, like, good people they don't exist.
We find them all equally unlikable and insufferable, it appears.
But
I began the story.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, I began the story trying to empathize with every character. Like, well, this is a time they're leaving. Maybe, well, you need to understand. So, and also you see parts of your grandmothers, and in this grandmother, you try to empathize. But then at some point, you like start hating her, and I don't want to hate you, but stop. Shut up. So that's interesting, because even when you're trying to like find some understanding, it's impossible in this story. It's impossible to find something good here.
But I like that thing, because if you have a story about the murder of a normal family, you expect them to be like very likable and very, like, you have the parents, the little kids, and the grandmother. I mean, and for me, the characters were like very unexpected in some way. Like, yeah, at the beginning, the grandmother could be like any old or grandmother, but at the end, I agree with Colleen, because I was shocked, because she was so focused on the misfit that she didn't care about what the other guy was doing to her family in the woods. Like, I mean, the whole like dialogue with the misfit was like very shocking for me. And the way I think was also an unexpected character, the grandmother.
No, but in my opinion, this character is, that's the way she is. She's mean. She's petty. I don't know if she's mean, but she's not very clever. No, she's manipulative. And I agree with someone said that Jessica that she was in a state of shock in the last moment. So she was just being herself, and I think she was worried for her son when she said, "Where are you?" She was like calling him. I don't remember the name, but it was something boy, something boy. But that's the way she was. She couldn't see very much farther than her own nose. She was worried because she wanted to go to Tennessee. She wanted to visit this house, and she was causing the destruction of her family. and one wonders how did they manage to get so far with such a character, no? But yeah, I think it's very what you can expect from a reaction that you can expect from her, for me.
But she's incredibly selfish and self-centered. After the accident, she hopes she's injured so they're not angry with her, instead of worrying about whether anybody else is injured. Something that came to mind was her cats. When the son grabs it and throws it out the window, nobody bothers about the cats, not even her, and it's her cat, you know. I mean, yeah, there's just details all over the place that, as I think that's a very good phrase, that she doesn't see past her own nose.
Maybe you could say none of them see past their own nose.
But actually, there are two characters that one may like, which are the little baby and the cat. One can feel pity for them, for the baby. Mostly.
Even the baby is not described in a very loving way by the author. I forget how she describes the baby, but like when the grandmother's looking at it, it's got like a wide, like stupid looking face or something. Like she didn't say stupid, but she said something like that. So there's like no love lost between the author and the characters.
He's not spoiled yet as the other ones, as the bigger brothers, siblings.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are all very I mean, the doctor-in-law, it's not a very remarkable character, no? She is not very well described. She's just a little left aside.
She doesn't even have a name.
She doesn't have
a
name.
But neither the grandmother, I think.
Yeah, grandmother doesn't have a name either.
Just the father and the kids.
Yeah,
I don't understand why the kids have a different surname, because it was different too. I was thinking, is because they are from different fathers, or what is happening?
No, it's just, isn't it just the typical joint name, Southern joint name, like
yes, their middle
Kelly
name.
Marie, I don't know.
Okay, so it's like two names. Okay.
And Ale, you know, you have the same, maybe the potentials of a serial killer, because he said that the Misfits had the same as you did. You know, she would have been a good woman if somebody had shut her up with a shot every hour or something. You know, just shut up.
yeah, there are these touches of humor or sarcasm, or because
Yeah, it's that guilty humor that you love, but you don't. You know you shouldn't really be laughing at it, but it's funny nevertheless.
But I think that line, I mean, I was shocked with that line because I thought it has also a deep meaning within the context of the story. So what do you think that line that I have it here? She would have been a good woman, the misfit said, if it had been somebody there to shoot her every minute of her life. What do you think that line means?
She would have been okay if she just shut up.
Or maybe
That's
like
not how I interpret it. I interpret it as like she suddenly becomes this nice lady when she's being threatened with a gun. Like she tries to understand him, she tries to connect with him, she tries to tell him to connect with Jesus, which in the South is like being a good person, is being a Christian person. And so I think that's what he says, like, yeah, as long as she's at the end of a barrel of a gun, she's gonna be nice and understanding and Christian. But as soon as you take the threat away, then she just does whatever she wants to. I don't know how he knows that or how he interpreted that, or if that's just his experience with people in general, but that's how I interpreted it anyway.
yeah, I felt the same thing, that's what it meant.
I think he'd know by experience because he must have threatened a lot of people with a gun and seen their reactions to it. So I think that's true. I think he's basically saying that people people show you the nice face when you have control over them because they want something for you. They want to win you over. They want you not to kill them. So I think that's what he meant.
Yeah.
I thought of other possibility as well, because the grandmother insisted so much that the misfit looked like a good person, a good mom, and maybe at the because she has like such a shallow interpretation of what is like a good person, only the way he looks or only because he seems like he's from a nice family or whatever. That doesn't mean anything, and he's very evil in contrast. So maybe just at the very end, because he's the one like putting a gun to her, like she realized her concept of a good person, it is completely wrong. But maybe I wanted to read very deeply in that last part of the story.
Also, if she were having shot every single minute of her life, the family couldn't exist in the first place. So without her, there's no family. Maybe you can read it that way.
Maybe she would be a nicer person if she wasn't surrounded by her horrible family all the time. You can say she's annoying, but they treated her very badly too. I don't know. Like I would manipulate those people too, because otherwise you're never gonna get what you want because everybody's a selfish.
Yeah, it seems that all of them hate her somehow. Like the mother of the children doesn't even talk to her in the entire story, and the rest of the characters doesn't respect her much. Maybe it's her own fault, maybe, but that happens.
Mhm.
I mean, the kids were pretty poorly behaved. They were pretty awful sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were pretty funny also. They were also you can say the voices of their parents when they were talking to her grandmother. So you can see the hate from the parents towards the grandmother with gestures, but the kids just speak talking all over, and they're very mean. But I love when they had an accident and they say, "We had an accident." Wow, nobody's killed. Ah.
Like horrible.
Yeah, for me, like the whole reaction of the whole family when they have the accident and they watch the bad guy's car, it's very weird. Their reaction is like at any point they like are scared or like I don't know. I don't I didn't understand that reaction of the whole family.
They're all dysfunctional together.
Yeah, we characters. That's why.
But the misfit is a complete wreck himself, no? Because he's totally crazy and very dangerous. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, nothing like that we can like in him or his colleagues, because someone mentioned something like a gangsters, gangster group of gangsters or something that could be interesting at least, but they are not interesting. They are complete white trash. No, they are the worst. They are the worst. So yeah, nothing to hold on to.
But I thought that the character of the misfit is actually quite interesting because the way he described her, like his childhood and everything. I mean, you can expect like a psychopath, a serial killer that has like this traumatic childhood and everything, and it was nice, it was okay, but suddenly he did something bad and he took the wrong path.
To destroy it, a way to destroy it. Maybe he was interesting before in time in his life, but now he was completely crazy and out of the world in my point of view.
Yeah.
So that's why he was so dangerous, because he had no mercy for kids, for babies, for no one.
Yeah. It was also curious to me that because I always think of serial killers like they probably enjoy killing people, but when he said at the end, when one of the people with him were laughing about it, almost, I don't remember exactly what they said, but almost like, oh, this is fun, or this is he said, no, there's nothing fun about it. And I thought, that's interesting.
It's no real pleasure in life.
Yeah. So it was almost like he was killing people, and he obviously killed a lot of people, but he didn't enjoy it. So I don't know why.
Well, he does say that it's a pity that they recognized him, because now he's going to have to kill them. And I mean, according to his own story about himself, it seems to be that it's actually the prison that's made him so heartless, so cruel. So it's he didn't go into prison like that, but his stay in prison just made him come out totally not caring about anything except not being caught.
But do you think that if the grandma didn't say the name, that you are this man, they hadn't like killed them? Because I think that they will do it anyway.
Yeah, I think so. Because go ahead.
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is that yeah, they said that they had these new clothes because they borrow those clothes from other people. So maybe you could expect that they had killed other family or other people. So I could say that they could kill them anyway, or at least steal them. But I would say kill them, because if they hadn't shown any mercy at all, when you could have left the kid, the babies, yeah, like the baby doesn't know anything. You could have take the kid in. But so I think that they could have killed the family anyway.
Yeah, that surprised me a bit. Like the story is very foreshadowing on many points. Like for example, you know, almost from the beginning, from what they say, that they are going to find, so they are going to meet, to bump into the misfit, and that actually happens. What I wasn't expecting is that they were going to kill them all, even when it's foreshadowed to on the encounter. There's some point where he says something like, I'm not wearing a shirt. This is not good because there are ladies here. And the grandmother says something like, oh, they could look into our shirts, into our clothes, so you can wear them. And he answers something like, yeah, I will do that myself. Like he's in total control of the situation, and he's letting us know that he can do whatever he wants with the car, with the possessions, and with the people. But I still wasn't expecting him to kill them all. Somehow I was thinking that it was going to end in a better way.
I thought that they will kill them also because in the story it's like symbols of death, like cemeteries and something like this. I mean, when the grandma is speaking, a lot of times is speaking about this, like about, I don't know, death. When she is describing the landscape, for me it was like an arrow to the death. Like it's because I expect that they kill them.
She said as well, when she said choosing clothes, I think she said, oh, I'm going to dress up just in case I die, and they know I'm a lady.
Yes, it's true. I didn't remember. Yes,
That
yes.
sentence was very...
But that's very typical. I mean, I can imagine my grandmother saying to me as a little girl, you know, put some clean underpants on. If you die on the street, you know, you can't be seen with dirty underpants. That's what they say.
But I think that's the narrator, not the grandmother directly. Like the narrator say, if there were an accident, that's a very funny way to...
But actually, for me, it wasn't odd either, because I remember at least my grandmother or my mother, one or the other, when I was younger, telling me, make sure you put clean underwear on in case you always need to have clean underwear on if something happens and you have to go to the hospital or whatever.
Yeah.
It was like...
It's very typical, yes.
Yeah.
But this old lady likes to dress as a old-fashioned lady, or a lady from her age, with so carefully with the hat, the curves and everything, the flowers, so every detail. She wants to stay very, very. She wants to stay very neat and elegant, because that must be her idea of an elegant woman, an elegant lady.
Yeah, she wants to be seen as a lady, as an elegant lady, but no one around her seems to hold that idea of her. It's
No,
just
but she doesn't
herself.
know. She doesn't really seems to mind what other people think of about her, no, because of her selfishness and everything.
It's interesting, even now that you bring up the lady, that at the end she kept, I think if I remember well, she kept talking about how you wouldn't kill a lady, would you? You wouldn't kill a lady. It was like she kept stressing that she was a lady. Yeah.
Even when they have killed the mother,
Yes.
She keeps saying, shouldn't you?
That's right.
But I think that this is because the shock moment that we were speaking before, like she didn't have anything more to say, like, but you are not killing me, true? Like,
I don't know if you remember, but there's also a sentence right at the very beginning of the story hinting her reaction, her later reaction, that she's a lady, so it would be in bad taste for him to kill her, because she says if they she puts on, I believe it's the pearl necklace, and she says that she puts it on because if they were to have a car accident and she were to be disfigured, so that they so that everyone who found her would know that she was a respectable lady. And I thought that was so grim and so far-fetched that right at the start I was like, okay, this woman is unbelievable. But then it actually happened, so
And how do you guys think religious takes part in this short story? Because I agree with some of you. I expected to be more like a thing in the story, but I don't think that it's so important at the end. Like the fact that the grandmother is like very religious.
I don't know if some of you said you'd read about the author, if she was very religious, because I kind of interpreted it that way, as like it was almost like her moral to the story, like, oh, these people are Christian enough and like they only invoke the name of Jesus when they have a gun to their head. And that was kind of like, oh, that's what happens when you don't love Jesus enough, like you get killed by this guy on the side of the road. That was like almost kind of the impression I was getting from the author, but like I don't know if, I'm assuming because of the time period and place that the author was quite religious, but I don't know. Some of you might know more than me.
Well, she was religious. She was a Catholic. She never hid the fact, and I'm not. I don't think that was the moral of the story. But I was just saying that she is known for including her beliefs in her stories. Not in a moralistic sense, just simply because she describes people of her same religion.
Jessica, we have lost you.
Yeah, it froze.
She's lost in Flannery house with a little cup of tea.
We can see you now. You were like froze for a second.
Yeah, because I can hear you when that happens.
Ah, okay. So what were you saying? Sorry.
The grandmother is not especially religious. She's just a normal old person's sort of classical religious belief. I was expecting more, but as I said, she's not known for introducing a moralistic view of religion, just simply mentioning it because it's part of her life.
I do feel there was some sort of like, I mean, I'd have to read more of her stories, but I do feel like there was sort of implied in the line that we were talking about earlier, where the misfit says, "Oh yeah, she's really good," and she's up if she would have been shot every hour or whatever. And I feel like there is some sort of commentary there, like on maybe not necessarily religious, but human condition, that we're only well behaved when we think somebody is watching us and is going to punish us, and how otherwise we'll kind of try to get away with whatever we can. And just judging from the era, I find it hard to separate that idea from religion. But
yeah, in her stories, there is always a connection with God there at some point. the characters connect with God, and not in a explicit way. But here, maybe the connection is when the misfit wears the shirt of Bailey, the parent, the father, and then in that moment, she, the grandmother, sees clearly, oh, Bailey, my son, I shouldn't have treat you better or whatever, and she touches. So maybe that's the moment in which she becomes a good person. She maybe that's the religious point, and then the misfit shoots her. So I don't know. That's also interesting, the moment in which she approaches the misfit.
There's also like implicit that being religious or following Jesus or believing in God implies or means being a good person. In the way she talks to him, like the way she tries to convince him of being a good person, she talks about remembering Jesus and following Jesus. Many of the most religious people that I know are also very hateful, and one thing doesn't causes the other or correlates with the other, but all through the story that's implicit. Like they all believe somehow that being religious is being good. So when they say be more religious, they're really saying be a good person, which is something that strikes me as odd somehow.
It doesn't strike me as odd as all, though, for the time and the place. Like, it would strike me as odd or like incredibly progressive if that wasn't the case for the time and location. I mean, this is the 1950s, so in the US, you're having the McCarthy trials. Anybody who's a communist is being prosecuted, and part of the reason why communism is such a big threat is because it's godless. So for somebody to stand up and write and actually be published saying anything other than, yeah, Christianity is good and it's moral would be very unusual, I think. Didn't know that you would even get it past the sponsors in that era of the US. Or censors, not sponsors.
But I also like find very interesting, like at the end, the grandmother wants to pray and she couldn't, like I don't know, she can't speak properly when she was talking about Jesus. So I find that very quite interesting scene, though I don't really understand the meaning.
She's trying to get him to pray. If you pray, you will become a good person and you won't kill me. But I mean, it's all obviously such a shock that she can't even form a sentence. Which is true. There is this idea of if you pray, you will automatically be good. If you are religious, you will automatically be good, which is not the case, mostly.
And why could be the misfit waiting until the final moment to kill the grandmother, even when like he kills everyone, and that he's waiting like for something for the grandmother to say or happen, or I don't know what he was expecting or what he was waiting for.
Actually, that's an interesting point that I didn't think of, because it's true. Like, he took the two males first, which sometimes you kind of expect, but then you would have expected that she would have gone with the daughter and the mother and the baby. But yeah, he kept saving her. So I don't know. I mean, but it's an interesting point.
I think that maybe they have to be divided in the end to not have the whole family together. So they kill first the men because they can be more strong, maybe like just to be sure, and after like the woman, and the more weak, like the weaker is the grandma, so he killed last. Maybe I don't know.
And she's he, I think he says it because she's talking and he uses her to tell his own story. You know, she says, I can tell you're a good person. Well, look, you know, I've gone through this in life and this. And so they have a sort of conversation. I mean, he must be very starved of conversation with his life. So while he does his other business, the other deaths, he keeps his conversation up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Like she's the only one who talks to him directly. So I think he was kind of enjoying the audience, enjoying interacting with someone other than the two other boys. And so he just chats until he doesn't really want to anymore, and then he kills her. Well, in the story, there's the moment she touches him, and that's when he kills her. I don't know if anybody, I didn't really know how to interpret that exactly, but.
No.
Yeah, and she say he's like her child.
Yeah.
I think like she said because it's with the sweater of the son too. Like
the
I think that is because of this. Yeah.
Yeah, and after wearing the clothes from the son from Bailey's, they had a more meaningful conversation, touching like each other minds somehow more than what she had with her own son.
Maybe it's because the misfit wants to believe that everything is like meaningless and there is really no emotions, and everything is cruelness, and maybe he starts to feel something when the grandmother is talking. He doesn't want to feel anything.
Yeah, like maybe she's talking and he enjoys talking to her, but once she starts getting too close, when she touches him and starts to get really emotional, he's like, no, I'm finished with this. Yeah.
I don't think she really stand a chance. She maybe she thought she was going to convince him, but he was out of the. I mean, he was not giving any chance to her. Because I see this character of the misfit as extremely crazy. So it was not a conversation between equals.
Yeah.
That's how that's how I picture him in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think. Oh, go ahead.
I will speak about other topics, so go on.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, sure. No, I wanted to ask about the other two characters. This growth bar place that is this other man and the other woman. Like, what do you think about them? Because, like, they are like there, but nothing really happened. It's just like the man treat bad the woman, and like I don't know if, because as before we were speaking what the grandma considered as a good person, the grandma considered him as a good person and he was treating bad her wife. So I just wanted to ask, what do you think about these two characters?
I felt like it was almost to illustrate even further that there are just no good people, because even the wife, when they were talking about you can't trust anyone, then she says, yeah, I trust absolutely no one, and she looks right at her husband. So it says to you that like this woman doesn't even trust her own husband, you know. And yeah.
And about the title, because he's the one that mentioned the title, this diner owner or whatever, a good man is hard to find. Do you think the story wants to represent this like changing in morality, and do you agree with it?
Also, it's interesting because the guy in the bar is the one that treats the grandmother better in the whole story. Maybe it's like a common character, like a similar character. And that's interesting because people from bars and also old people like tend to have the same panel conversation, always talking about the same and complaining about the same things. The past was better. But yeah, I mean that's the only similarity that's an interesting thing that I see about these two characters.
There's a sad, there's a sad point in the sense that the only moment that the grandmother and Bailey are nice to each other or seem to worry about each other or care is when right before he dies. And the way he says, shouts back at her something like, "Wait for me, Mama, I'm coming back for you," or something like that. It's like, well, at least he's showing like he's trying to comfort her somehow, but that's the only point, and then he dies. So
maybe it was the shock moment. So I don't know if we can take in account.
Yeah, but it's interesting how with these very little details one gets the emotions and one can think how they are feeling right at the moment. No, so that's why it's so well written, because it's so very well depicted. With two short sentences, you see the anguish of the son and of the mother, and the story is full of details like that. So it's very, very nice, very beautiful, as it's written.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the story is more entertaining or more fun than moralizing at the end, because we're not getting anything out of this. We're just trying to understand why the author, why religion is connected with this. But in reality, if she was trying to get something moralizing out of this, I think it's not the best way. And maybe it's not an example when every character is so unrelatable, or maybe relatable to other people. Oh yes, I saw people like this one, but that's not me. So that's difficult to get something moral out of this.
But in other books, because you say that you read another book too, like
Yeah,
How is this point in other books? I mean, about this moral, religion.
yeah, it's always the same. It's the stories are entertaining, and they show at some point something very bad about some characters that you don't even see it. Like you wouldn't do that at any point. You know that's you would hate that. So it's not even trying to teach you something, because it's so bad that it's not, you don't relate with this. And in other stories, it's just something about, well, I'm I don't know how to say, is they behave in a very weird way to connect with God, but God is always very not explicit. It's weird. Like, it's not, you don't get anything from the story. Just enjoy the stories, and you see, so maybe that's how this author thinks, and it's interesting, and it's also very beautiful, and it's funny. But yeah, I think that's all. After all,
Okay, thank you.
there are also stories that end up fine. They're good, but you're always with tension, because you're gonna fool me at some point. You're gonna show me something bad about this character, but at the end, it's not. But you're always with the tension. That's also interesting.
So I don't understand why is this like the most popular story from this author, no? Like the most popular short story. Well,
Yeah, I would say that it's the most shocking one. Is shocking, is also concise. There are other stories that are longer, and I think this is a very good example. The other are not so shocking, but they are more enjoyable. They are also they have also more. The descriptions are richer. I remember one story that is all description of a short moment, like almost all stories, an encounter between two characters, and it's very well written, and you enjoy it a lot. But yeah, this story is very good to introduce yourself into the author, because it has everything.
Yeah, but I agree that it's not so much moralizing as descriptive, just of time and specific moment and specific type of people and so on. But no, I wasn't thinking of getting any immoral of this story either.
Yeah, I agree. The whole situation that the story describes very shocking, because it's so raw in a way. Like, it's like what I say. It's not like very likable family. You read about this horrible murder, and you are more thinking more about the dialogue than the actual murder. I don't know. I think it's very shocking, because it's very like raw. She doesn't sugarcoat the story, so it's, for me, it's unexpected.
Maybe
Yeah,
it
I
could be
think
different from, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think normally you would expect there to be at least one person that you really liked, or one person that was quite good. And yeah, I mean, the children said things you know, you think like children, they're cute, whatever, and you know, they said things shocking, you know, and so and yeah, I think that it was not such a typical story, and that there was no one that you really sided with, or you really like felt like, oh yeah, I want to support them or cheer for them in the story.
Yeah, no, and actually the good man that is so hard to find, I think is in the story. There's only one character that at some point becomes good, and is the grandmother. She's the only character that has an evolution as a character. The rest of the personalities stay the same; they don't evolve. But the mother goes from being very, very selfish and self-centered and not a good person in general to be someone that at the end realizes, because of God or because of the situation or because of whatever, the goodness. And she becomes suddenly, for the last part, the good person. But even then, she's not very likable.
Do any of you have any sympathy for the misfit? Like, no, because of the murder, but because the whole story he tells.
I mean, I found his story interesting, but I didn't find it particularly, I don't know, redeeming or in any way making him more sympathetic. I just didn't.
I would like to know more about him, because when he says something like, "Well, I don't know what I did," and I think he says something that he believed he killed his father. Like, I would like to know more about the story, not empathy with the character, because maybe he has been evil since ever, but just for curiosity to know more how he becomes like murdering so much people.
Maybe one could feel pity for him before in his life, but not anymore. But he looks like a victim of something that happened to him, or a victim of how his life evolved and led him to become a murderer, an assassin. But right now, it's too late to feel pity for him.
But maybe he's not the victim. Like, maybe one of the other thing about the story is like the bad guy is like a very, I don't know, the way he expresses is like very logical in a way. So you see, like, he chooses to do this stuff, and he could even like reflects about it and think about it. Like, I don't see him like a victim. He directly chooses it.
No, as I see it, it's just that he's broken. He is broken since long ago, because he couldn't stand in jail or whatever, and that's what he suggests to me.
Andrea, what you say reminded me of in shows. I don't know how accurate this is, but in shows like, for example, Criminal Minds, something, and shows like that, they often divide the criminals they encounter in like messy types or organized types. The messy types are people who can't control their urges, their impulses, while there are organized people who are very cold-blooded and know exactly what they want to do and why. And they have this sort of internal logic that for them it all makes sense. And I think the misfit will fit squarely into that category, because it's completely rational in his own warped way. I don't think he's a crazy person or an unbalanced person, but he knows exactly what he has to do, why, and doesn't really share our perception of morals or what's wrong and what's right. He has a choice and he takes it, and you just have to shut up and bear with it, like the grandmother has to. and it really makes him look responsible for his own actions. I think that's my theory. I don't know if there's a criminal psychologist that may be able to enlighten us more about it, but that's my little take on it.
Yeah, no,
What
and it makes sense. Sorry, Angela.
No, like what do you think that is his main motivation? Because he says that it's not for pleasure. So
Yeah,
like,
because he
I
thinks
don't.
there's no joy in life whatsoever.
Yes,
Like-
exactly. So I didn't finish to understand why.
I think he reminds me of the ones that do like mob hits that are very businesslike. Like, yeah, just like always, I have a target, I have to kill it, then I go out to dine and have some pasta, like things like that. I think he has a very cold like demeanor about it.
Yeah, the thing is that this calculation that he has, where he has everything under control and does things very cold-blooded, actually makes him better as an individual. When I mean better, is more good, and I'm going to try to explain this. He does what he does because it has a purpose, like it serves him somehow. I actually have the doubt, because it's not clear in the story, if he could have killed the family if he hadn't been recognized as the killer, as the misfit. Because maybe if he had them, he wouldn't have had to kill them, and maybe he wouldn't have done that. Now, if he's escaping from justice or wherever, and they recognize him, then in a cold-blooded mind, then he has to kill them. But he doesn't do it because of being bad, but because he needs to. So somehow that makes him a better person. I think he's an anti-hero. He has personality traits that are both positive and negative. Negative, of course, that he's a cold-blooded killer, but he has the positive politeness and the way he treats them, and also somehow that he wonders about religion and being good or bad, about being punished, if it's enough the punishment that he suffered for his crimes. So somehow, see, he also has a good, maybe calling it good is too much, but a good and a bad part to him.
Yeah, but what do you mean by good? Because when I hear good, I think a good person, like, which I think, I don't know, is not at all. There's nothing about him that's in any way good. I mean, he has, I guess you could consider positive points in that he's not like completely stupid. I was gonna say he was intelligent, but then I'm like, no, he's not either. So I don't know. Like, it's true he has some philosophical moments, but I don't know. I mean, to me, he's the least redeemable person in the story.
Mo, you're being very insulting to the poor man. He might get offended.
I'm sure he would be very offended.
No, but I'm the same as you. I don't agree with you, Adrian. An anti-hero is a romantic figure. It's like someone like Batman, not someone like Misfit. Please, I don't think he's an anti-hero. I think it tarnishes the anti-hero's goodness. He's not. But I just thought about the fact that we don't know if he would have killed the family if the grandma hadn't recognized him. And I read the paragraphs again when they appear and they stop by their car. And I'm sorry, but it seems to me like he intended to kill them all along, because before the grandma recognizes him, they already have a weapon, a gun, drawn out. And at that time, I believe in the 50s, it wasn't as typical to go around waving a gun through the United States as it may be now. I think it because the children immediately start asking questions, and everyone just becomes startled when they see the gun, and the children start asking, "What are you doing with that gun?" Like, like somehow instinctively knowing that it can't be anything good. So I do think that I got the impression that they were just happy that they came by just to steal the clothes and everything they needed from them. It was the impression I got. And I think that we have this perception of the misfit that he's not that bad because he's not a sadist. He doesn't enjoy killing or people suffering. But I think he's cruel. He's like, okay, no, you'll suffer, but I don't care because I care about myself, and I want this from you. I want to kill you. I want to take away your things. I want not to be recognized, to stay on the run. And I think he's equally bad, but it isn't as bad as it is to do it and eat and enjoy it. I think it's even worse, but it doesn't make him any better, in my opinion.
She also characterized the car in the story as it came down as a black hearse. It's like a hearse is basically a car that carries dead people. So that also was, as soon as she said that, I thought, oh, that's interesting. Like, why would there be a hearse coming to these people? But so yeah, maybe that speaks to that he was going to kill them in any case.
Yeah, I don't think they stopped the car just to help them, like they were escaping from prison. So
doesn't seem very fitting for their characters.
Yeah, I agree. The character is completely evil. I mean, I think it's also a complex character, but I think it's mostly all evil. Because I mean, I guess, that maybe if he thinks that the world is all cruelness and everybody is bad at the bottom, right? He has to behave like that. I mean, I'm not gonna justify him, but
no, but he's justifying himself with those philosophical ideas. But that's what he does, and that's it.
Yes, because he has like such a pessimistic view of the world and the human kind in general. And another question that makes you wonder about this in this story is, what is like a good person, a good man or person in this?
But in the story, like
no, in the story and in general, yeah, because there isn't a good character in this story.
No, I mean, I
trying to tell us that all of us are bad and we should all
there
rot
is
in
no
hell in some
good
way.
in the world.
I think
We're
the
beyond
baby.
saving.
The baby, because the baby has not been corrupted yet.
That's
But
right.
even the children are unlikable, so I think that defeats the whole purpose. Like,
No,
like
but
even if when you're children you're bad and you aren't worth a thing.
Even the cat caused the accidents.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That I thought that was
Sorry,
badly
I don't
portrayed.
know.
Poor cat. He was not the cause of everything. I'm sorry. Cats are better than people. I'm sorry.
The cat was adopted in the end by the misfit. Yeah.
The bad guy.
Kitty.
Yeah, he liked the bad guy. He was like brushing up against his leg. That's right.
The cat was evil.
Yeah, because
No.
even the cat got to see him like. Well, I guess the cat didn't see him kill the other, but he saw him kill the grandmother, and he was her cat. So then,
The cat was sick and tired of the grandmother too.
Okay, I have a theory. Maybe this misfit is a good person because he's just trying to rescue the cat from the family.
Oh, sure.
Of course, that justifies any crime.
Yes.
He's just a hardcore cat lover.
And that's something both the misfit and the grandmother had in common, that they both liked the cat. Like the cat.
And you have in common with them, Aurora, because I can see your cat's ears there.
Yes, you have a cat.
So you
He
three
wants
have something in common, of course.
He wants to say his opinion.
About the cat in the story.
He's advocating for cats' rights in the story. Yeah, I don't think the cat is evil. I just think the cat wants just some love, and the cranky grandmother wasn't just giving it to him.
Cats just
That's
pass
what I
by.
think.
They just pass by.
Also, I wanted to ask, maybe it's a silly question, but in the story, the cat causes the accident because he steps out of like something, and I didn't understand that word.
No, but yeah, it's because
Valentine, right?
it's the moment when the grandmother realizes that she is mistaken the way, because the house they want to visit is not even in the same state, so that they are going the wrong way, and she is so
startled, right?
Yeah, exactly. That she causes the box where the cat is to open, and the cat suddenly goes out to the neck of the driver.
They're keeping him in like a suitcase or something, because valise is like a small suitcase. It's not even like a proper carrier, so it's not surprising that the cat freaked out. It's like been kept in an enclosed box.
So it was
basically.
the family's fault all along.
Yeah, they weren't treating it very well. Because the father didn't want to be seen with a cat or whatever, so he has his own
They're terrible
appearances to keep up.
So everything is a disaster in this story.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's not a good man. It's hard to find. It's an innocent man or an innocent person is hard to find, because everyone somehow contributes to what happens. Even the children being annoying just adds up to it. So.
The baby is okay for me.
Oh yeah.
and the little dog monkey.
Yeah.
I don't know if you thought about it this way, but I found it very very rude that the grandmother never referred to her son's wife by name, or calling her his wife or his partner. He just said the children's mother, like that's the only thing that tied her to herself. So I thought it was either very sexist or very rude and very annoying, because I really immediately felt pity for that woman. Like, imagine if you're I don't know how to say it, but if your suegra, I can't remember anymore. But remember if your mother-in-law. Remember if your mother-in-law refused to like acknowledge you, even your name, or even the fact that you're related. I thought it was very. I thought it was in very bad taste. I don't know if you thought that too, but it sounded very bad to me.
I don't know really why.
Maybe they don't like some brutal thing.
But it's such a minor character, no? She says very little.
But because we're seeing it from the grandmothers, we're following the grandmother. So maybe she's even redeemable, and we don't know about it because the grandmother likes her. I don't know. I really think she should be given a second chance. I think she was very mistreated. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a very weird family dynamic, and we don't know the background, so it's hard to tell. It's like, who started treating who badly first, because the woman doesn't speak to the grandmother either. So it's like, yeah, we can assume, because these relationships are usually the mother-in-law is rude first and treats the daughter-in-law badly, so we can assume that's what happened, but we don't know. And the son, or the father, Bailey, that his name?
Really, yeah.
Is like also doesn't do anything to help the situation, doesn't say anything, doesn't defend his
No, he doesn't
wife,
do anything,
so
period. Like,
yeah, it just is no.
It's
No.
like it's like
For me, he's
tired
the
of-
worst. Like for me, he was the worst character. He's the one who pissed me off the most. So,
Mo is like,
apart from the murder.
stand you. But yeah, he was a very unlikable character. Too, like all of them.
Yeah, I imagine the guy bringing his mother to his house after, I don't know, his father died or whatever, and then some fight is starting in his house. He's trying to put everything in order, but the grandmother is also like giving advices, and so maybe he's tired of everything, of, I don't know, 2 years of those battles.
And even the kids talk to the mother very straight and very blunt. For example, when she proposes going somewhere else, is John, the boy, that says, if you don't want to come, just don't come. And I don't know, it looks like everyone is a little bit tired of this granny.
Yeah, and also she can't be a very good person. Who the hell names her cat Pity Sing? That's in bad taste. Poor cat.
What was the name? What?
Pity Sing. It's horrible. I'm sorry. Pity Sing. What does it even mean? Can someone enlighten us?
No
Does someone
idea.
know what Pity Sing even means?
Pay attention to it.
I just saw it and I was like, that's mean.
Yeah.
Well, it seems that there's a band named after the cat.
But yeah, I think it's just that the grandmother's not very, very kind to other people. Who the hell names her son Bailey or John Wesley? I mean, they're horrible names. I think she must be a bad person just because of the names she gives to other people.
She is, and I think that's the point of the story. Maybe it's a story about redemption, about going from a horrible human being that names the cat like that to being someone that at the end, before dying, realizes the path of her ways, and that, that she has done bad.
Pity Sing is from the Mikado, the Gilbert and Sullivan operetta. So it's one of the characters from that.
The what?
The Mikado. It's an operetta.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, no,
Yeah.
What?
There's even a group named after that character. Yeah. It appeared to me in my Google search that there's a band named Pity Sing, and I was like, really? But yeah, people from the southern United States can be weird.
Well, I think it fits in. I didn't know that's what Pity Sing was from, but it fits in with the grandmother trying to be a lady and trying to be cultured and everything. And she named her cat from an opera after an opera character. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and actually the band is not named after the character in the opera. It's named after the cat in the story because it says,
Really?
Pity Sing, a 4-piece out of New York named for an evil cat in a Flannery O'Connor short story.
Yeah.
It's an indie band. and then what it followed. An evil cat. That's me.
Why an evil cat?
A normal cat.
And it clearly says an evil cat out of a Flannery O'Connor short story. Like it's just plain facts, and it's not. I stand the cat.
An evil cat.
Yeah, she's the only one not guilty in all of this mess.
We don't even know what happened to the cat after the story ends. So.
Probably the misfit kept him, even if as a distraction.
I don't know.
Some people like us.
or for dinner, maybe.
Actually, the cat is the more evil character in this entire story. He causes the accident.
But it's not
Oh,
his
the entire
fault.
family will be alive if not for the cat.
No.
That's true.
But
No,
if the
exactly.
father hadn't
Family
forced
will be
him to
alive
be in
if
the
the
little
grandmother-
carrier.
History by being called Pretty Sing.
If the
And I
grandmother
stand by that.
hadn't hit the cat in the car, they would be alive.
The cat was behaving impeccably.
Although if they had listened to the grandmother and go to Florida, they would be alive as well. So
What if?
we don't know who's to blame in this story.
Everyone is to blame. Everyone takes part in it.
I'm thinking that maybe I don't think that this woman is really a bad person. She's just doing what she can. She's learned to be manipulative and to maneuver to get things that she wants. But everything is a mess. So she's not so successful in her manipulations. So I don't think she's that bad, but she's just a mess. Don't you think so?
Yes, I think that she is super selfish, but she is not, I mean, a murderer or something like that. Like, she's just super selfish and she has thin in herself.
Yeah, like she's not happy. Or maybe she's happy. She's just whimsical. She wants to do what she wants all the time, but we don't know. But it's like she's planning to do things, but they all get wrong. So.
Yeah, and it is interesting that she tries to be manipulative, but it's true. She actually never gets anything that she tries to get. The only way they came to the house is because of the children, not because of her. She indirectly got the children excited, but she herself, when she tried to convince the family of anything, they didn't pay attention. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's a bit annoying, but I don't think she has like bad intentions, so she's evil in any way. She's just annoying.
Yeah.
For me.
She also doesn't seem very intelligent somehow. Like there's some point in the story where she says something like Europe is to blame for the way we are, or something like that, which is like she's talking without any real backup in reality. It's like what people talk at the bars when they fix the world and they know everything, but there's no real nothing. Even the misfit, when he talks, he seems to have thought carefully about it and has like, I don't know, some thought behind it, but she doesn't.
It's also interesting how.
No,
go
please.
ahead.
No, please.
No, I was going to mention another thing, so. Well,
no, but yeah, I was just going to say that yeah, she's not intelligent at all. She's quite limited, in my opinion. That's all.
I think also it was interesting when I read it yesterday that they mentioned the Spanish flu. The father of the of the
Yeah, I noticed
mystery.
that too.
Yeah.
So I was wow.
So maybe just like now, everything's the fault of the Spanish flu, maybe. Just like the times we're living in now.
Yeah, if the father hadn't died from the Spanish flu, the misfit wouldn't have become the misfit, and everybody would would be all right.
Yeah, let's blame the viruses.
there's a debate about not calling it the Spanish flu, right? Like
Yeah.
right now with the Chinese virus.
Actually, do you
Trump.
know why it was called the Spanish flu? Because I learned about it only recently, and I thought it was very.
Because I'm curious, because we don't call it the gripe española. We call it just pandemia de gripe or wherever. So do you know where it comes from?
Yeah, the Spanish flu name comes because it was during the First World War, and during the First World War, I think it was in 1914. So 1913. So the thing is, because they were currently at war, and the epidemic started in Europe and the US. All of those countries were currently involved in the First World War, so they didn't want to talk to make anything public about the flu, so that it wouldn't be exploited as a weakness during the conflict. So the first country that reported cases of this flu was Spain, because we weren't involved in the war. So it became public so that people could take precautions. So all the cases following that announcement that in the Spanish press started calling it the Spanish flu, because they thought it had started in Spain. And that's why it was called the Spanish flu, mistakenly, because we were in the first cases. It was just like now with Italy, that Italy had a lot of cases before it came to Spain. So it was just like that. For example, in the United Kingdom, there were lots of casualties from the flu before it even came to Spain. But since Spain was the first one that talked about, that publicized it, everyone thought that the epidemic had started here, and now everything thinks it. So it's still the Spanish flu, and no one is ever going to take that away. But I thought it was pretty interesting. I didn't know before that it was because of that, but it makes sense.
What it calls my attention is that it caused something like 100 million deaths or something like that.
Yeah, it was very brutal.
But it's not anything that you heard about frequently. You sometimes hear, the Spanish flu, 50 million deaths or 100 million deaths, but it was something huge, and
yeah,
it was
huge. Much more than now. It was horrible.
Yeah, and it surprises me that it was at the same time on so many countries, because I tend to think of globalization of something new that is happening now, that the virus is traveling freely because we are so connected. But what are we talking about? Like Italy, 20th century or something?
It was because of the war, because troops were traveling around Europe and from the US to Europe and back again. And that's how it was, that's why it was so bad, why it was a pandemic, was because of this. This was the first industrialized war where people were going overseas, and there was so much movement of soldiers, and that's how it initially spread. It was in 1918 when it started, just at the very end of the World War I.
Also, it was because compared to, well, what we know today is that it spread much quicker than, for example, the coronavirus now. It was so much easier to infect other people than with this virus. It's what studies made in actual studies like taking place right now say, but we can't be sure because it happened so long ago. We don't have the exact data, but it's estimated that because of how many casualties they were, people were much more likely to get infected when you came into contact with another person, much more than the coronavirus, and had a higher mortality rate. So.
It also had the time to mutate, because in the first wave was also in May, and there were people killed, but not as much as in the second wave in the fall. And this second wave also killed young people. That was very bad. But I don't know if we should extrapolate. Man, that's scary.
Yeah, that's very scary.
That's very scary. Yeah,
But I don't think
considering everything.
we have to extrapolate. I think it's 100 years later. It's a different.
Well, 100 years, that may as well be 500 because the situation is so different from back then. Well, at least I hope the situation is different from back then.
Right.
Let's hope it doesn't mirror that one, because that one was bad.
It's also interesting how the grandfather of Donald Trump was killed by the virus, by the Spanish flu, and it was one of the earliest cases.
I didn't know that. Oh my god, that is. I don't want to say poetic justice, but I don't know what else to say.
But he didn't
it's
learn
strange that-
anything.
He didn't learn.
It's like I'm sure Trump's grandfather believed in the virus when he got it. I'm not sure that Trump believes the virus exists even now. So
Oh my god.
He thinks you can cure it by eating detergent and sitting out in the sun.
I was shocked this week with that. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it could be funny, but there were like 100 people reported at hospitals because they drank the stuff.
No, I didn't know
bleach
that.
and
Yeah, so it's I mean, when your leader tells you, even suggests, because I've seen the video, and what he does is like, we know that the disinfectant kill it in seconds, and he turns to his scientific advisor and asks, what happens if we inject the disinfectant? It's like, he doesn't say like drink the disinfectant, but you have how many millions of people listening to that? You know, people are going to try it because people are that.
Yeah, and you always have to. I believe that when you're public speaking, you should always take into account that not everyone is very brilliant. I mean, I remember that.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know if it was in university. I think it was in university. When we started learning a bit more in my law degree, we started learning a bit more about consumer information and customer rights regarding like in law, and we were told about a very 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 important trial that took place in I believe it was in the United States. That woman sued one of the first microwave companies because in the instructions it didn't say that you shouldn't put live animals in it, and she put her dog in to dry his hair, and the dog died. The dog cooked alive. So it was
my god, that's horrible.
And the woman won the lawsuit against the company because the company hadn't explicitly said that you couldn't put live animals inside a microwave, and this really happened. And we were all like, no way this happened. And we had to read the sentence because we questioned our teacher. We had to read the full sentence. It was horrible. And it's because of that a lot of there are so long user manuals, and they put a lot of bullshit there that you think, well, this is common sense. Well, not for everyone. Not everyone has common sense, and not everyone's common sense is as I don't know, sensible as ours. And I think in public speaking right now, it should be like that, because there are people like we laugh about them a lot in last discussions. I don't know, there are people who believe the earth is flat. There are people who don't believe that vaccines work. There's all kind of people that are crazy and dumb, and you need to take into account those kind of things.
There's a lot of cases like this when consumers sue the companies, and they have to add in the manuals or the labels very obvious stuff. Like, for example, this woman that sued McDonald's because she got burned with the coffee because, of course, it was hot. So from
no, but that's a case that people use to like ridicule these cases. But the fact of it that it was like way too freaking hot. Like, she got like 3rd-degree burns off of this coffee, which like should not happen from fast food coffee. Like, even if you spill it on yourself, it's gonna hurt, but it shouldn't be giving you like these horrible burns. So, but people like to use it as a case. So like, of course, like people are so dumb. We have to put coffee as hot on the cups. But in that case, it actually was irresponsibility on the part of the.
I see.
girls.
I didn't know this. Anyways, there's a lot of people that believe things like the vaccines cause autism and stuff. Like, for example, we were debunking, I'm recording a podcast with some friends, and we were debunking on the last time we recorded about coronavirus produced by 5G towers, the 5G network.
Oh yes, that one.
Yeah, this was a very popular
Yeah, there's
misinformation.
people who believe it. Like, there's people in
Yeah.
Birmingham that went to the towers and burned them down, like with fire, with houses of people living right by the tower. Probably towers that weren't even active yet, and people were already having cancer and everything because of the tower. So the people believe this like quite much. There's also this theory of the 5G supports on the correlation between some places where you have 5G networks and the cases of coronavirus, which you can find the correlation, of course, not causality, but correlation, because it starts in China where there are 5G towers, and in the United States, you see the maps, you put one over the other, the 5G networks and the coronavirus cases, and yeah, more or less they could match. And then because of this, people think that this happened. But the thing is that we are saying that the Spanish flu killed how many? 40 million people, and there were no 5G towers then, but people doesn't seem to see something as simple as that. And there's a graphic that I have here. Let's see if I can share it with you, because it's very interesting about the history of pandemics. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
no, the wolves are cute and they're horrible.
I saw that.
They're like
Yeah.
pom-poms.
For example, you have the bubonic plague
Oh.
that killed 200 million people in the 14th century, and then the Spanish flu, 40 million, the HIV, yeah,
Asian flu, Hong Kong flu.
yeah, and then here you have the coronavirus, which
Yeah,
is
that's gonna
here.
be bigger.
But apparently 5G caused all this.
Wow.
Like, it makes no sense at all.
People sometimes have all the dots in front of them and they don't connect them. Don't know why, but
And the anti-vaxxers is just like,
yeah.
it's incredible.
I think they're going to be in for a nasty surprise, because when they develop the coronavirus vaccine, I think it's going to be mandatory, and I don't think they're going to like it much, but I guess it's like it.
What is the theory to be an anti-vax religion, or what is it? Because I don't understand.
No, it's just like
They put something in
pseudoscience.
the vaccine, right?
They think that vaccines cause autism in some kids or whatever. There was an study on 2007 or something like that by a doctor that basically said that vaccines could cause autism. A few years later, it was proved by peer review that that was bullshit, basically, and he lost his medical license.
Yeah.
And well, it was proof that it wasn't true, but it was enough for a few people to believe that. And ideas are very contagious. It doesn't matter if they are real or not. If they have like a cover of science somehow, people can believe it. And there's a lot of people now. Well, I don't know how many, maybe not a lot, but there's people who think that vaccines are bad.
It's also like I forget what the fallacy is called, but where like you think you're an expert. So like they look at the ingredients or whatever, like the chemicals that are in the vaccine as well. Like some of them have mercury and stuff like that. And so they see it, okay, mercury, bad, chemicals, bad. This is injecting chemicals into my kid's body, so I'm not gonna do it. I think at that point, there's also that some think it causes autism or think that it causes other adverse effects, but most of what I'm seeing now is people that are like natural want everything to be natural, and so they see these chemicals and they're like, oh my god, the government wants to inject my children with chemicals.
And also a lot of people that are anti-vax, they don't believe that the official explanation that is the very obvious thing that putting the illness but weaken the virus or the bacteria or whatever the agent into your body but weakened will make you generate antibodies. They don't believe that. They think that's stupid, that to put the shot into your bloodstream will make you produce antibodies. They think that idea is stupid, and it's like, okay, then I don't know what else to say to you.
I wonder what they would think when there is like a coronavirus vaccine. Like, they were still thinking the same, or?
Well, there have been cases of people saying that coronavirus can be cured with essential oils. So I think people are capable of anything.
Yeah, there was this bull of fake news, or however you want to call it, in WhatsApp about that if you drink hot water, you could kill the virus.
I told you about that also. The influencers all drink saying they were Spanish influencers, the ones I knew, like telling you if you drink hot tea at more than this many degrees, it will be very good because it will prevent you from the virus from infecting your body, because the virus can't survive hot temperatures. And it's like, you're stupid. People believe that. My mom believed that. I was like, no.
Why are we going back to these methods? I mean, we have medicine now. People.
I think that.
I don't know why, but people. I don't know why. For starters, would you believe something that you've seen in a WhatsApp message? I don't understand.
Yes, but maybe it's a marketing campaign and we don't know. Like if they are influencers, so.
No, this is pure dumb.
It's an ad for Lipton. I'm sorry, but I don't think it's an ad for Lipton tea.
It's like I said,
I would prefer not to think that.
Dumb, and I mean, you can see where it comes from. Like, the virus does die in boiling water. Like, if you stick your gloves that are covered in virus into boiling water, it'll kill the virus. But you can't really like consume boiling water. It also doesn't work that way inside of your body. But if you're not,
it's not like drinking boiling water is going to raise your body temperature enough to a boiling point that it will simply melt the virus. It's not possible. I'm sorry.
I mean, to be fair, in the groups where this WhatsApp was sent, most of the people reacted saying this makes no sense. Why are you spreading this information when it's not true? But the thing is that if only one person believes it and starts not taking the necessary hygienical measures to protect from the virus because they think that drinking hot water will cure them, then they're killing someone by spreading this information.
The thing is that it seems people tend to believe science is another belief, another thing you can believe in or not, and that's not the point. And I think that people is starting to do that because we are losing. We are missing what we learned because I don't know, the educational system is worse or something, because science is not a belief. And what we have reached to this point of our civilization or whatever because of science, not because of strange beliefs, but we are forgetting that. And that's, I don't know why people think that a vaccine is magic.
I think that this pandemic have disclosed so many structural problems that we have, and one of those is the like scientific, I don't know if to say reasoning or understanding what it is that we don't have in our education. And we thought it was, it's okay. we don't need well, if you want to be a scientist, it's okay. But no, I mean, basic stuff about how to reach truth, we need to know that. Because if not, if you believe that everything it's an opinion, it's a belief, like you say, well, that's what science tried to debunk, tried to overcome like 400 years ago.
It's like the era of post truth.
Exactly.
What's what they call it? No, I was listening this morning something like about this in the radio, that truth is now an opinion. There's no more truth anymore. What's this? I'm used to a rational thinking, not a magical thinking or an emotional thinking. You know, for some areas of life and science and everything. So it's like.
And I think that also it happened inside science, because when you are looking for papers and researching and blah blah blah, in a lot of papers they are like making like the result they want. So sometimes when you are researching for a topic, you have a lot of papers, and in any paper it's a different result. So you don't know what is true and what is not. And this is science, I mean.
This is what I was going to say, because for most of the population, for most of us, science is also a matter of faith somehow. Like we believe on the scientific consensus, and this is why it's so important, the critical thinking. Like, what are you reading? What are the studies behind? Where this is coming from? All the information you have, but it's still difficult because some of the research that we are doing is so new and that we don't really know. The scientists don't really know. And also, sometimes people believe more bullshit stuff just because it's covering a period. Like it presents itself as science. And as we don't really know how quantum mechanics works or how complex chemical processes really work, unless you have been studying the field for a long time, then something that looks like science can trick many people into believing is true. Like one of the restaurants that I like in Madrid, the previous owners used to do quantum connections, they call it. Quantum connections to people. And what they did is that if you paid 600 euros, then they will do a quantum connection to you, and they will like make it look like there was science behind it. And then you could find the love of your life or the job you wanted, or your ex will come back with you. But the moment you start calling things quantum, it's like, oh, this is science. This must work, right? That's why critical thinking is so important.
Science zodiac.
Yeah.
Because it's science, it's scientific astrology in a way. But I also think that a lot of people who believe fake news, it's because it suits them, like it benefits them. Maybe some anti-vax benefit from thinking that and not vaccinating their kids. I don't know, maybe they save money or things like that, so they prefer to believe that. For example, and now with the coronavirus, there have been two different bulos, or two different kind of fake news, and both have been that first one, that smoking works against the coronavirus. So if you're a smoker, it is less likely that you'll be infected with coronavirus. And then despite that, how much tobacco hurts your lungs, and coronavirus hurts your lungs too, so it would make you a bit more vulnerable. And people that say that if you are a frequent drinker of alcohol, you can get infected with coronavirus. And it's like, people are just justifying their vices. It's like, I'm an alcoholic, so I can't get coronavirus. Come drink with me. It's like, it doesn't make some sense. I'm sorry.
I think it has also to do with the fact that we are so used to get like a very fast answer and response to everything. Like we are used to Google whatever, and in 3 seconds you have the answer. And that's not how science works. Like it takes some time. So with this new virus, there's no very reliable information about that, and we want to believe the fastest and the quickest thing
Yeah. We are not prepared to we don't know as an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
sucks for us to not know. We need an answer, even if it's a fake one.
Yeah, I believe this is
Exactly.
where religions come from.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
It's one of the sources, yes.
Like the need to give an
Fascinating.
explanation to things.
Yeah, the fact that right now it's like outrageous to think that there's something we can't control, or there's something that we don't know enough about, or we're unprepared for. I think society is not ready to accept that, so they need to make up for it, and it just goes on from there.
Yeah,
I think.
The Western modern societies where we
I haven't applied the scientific method to this series, so please don't take it as facts now that we're talking about this.
yeah, and it also then, well, just
No,
tiny
nothing.
thoughts.
It's like the thing we were saying, like this is like a kind of new religion, no? In the end, people have to believe in something that cannot explain. For me, it's remember like religions that were so important as centuries that now people need something more to believe.
We always end up bashing religion.
Yes, I don't know.
I find it funny, I'm sorry.
I don't know why.
We always end up, yeah, religion, it sucks.
Yeah. We try with this story. We try to love it.
Yes.
Yeah, we tried it. We even exhumed the grandmother by saying she wasn't that religious to begin with. She's not that likable. That's sad. We're all binding up together against religion, and it's funny. I'm sorry. It's like
We should read a story about religion so we can talk about it like as much as we want.
I think that is going to be chaotic. It's my personal opinion.
Actually, I
But
was
yeah.
worried because a few years ago we made a discussion about an essay, a book by Sam Harris, which is a famous atheist author. And I thought that it was going to be an intense debate with people getting angry and stuff like that. And it was quite rational. Even when there were some believers at the discussion, they were offering their point of view from a calm side of things. So it was interesting. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be.
You're expecting it to be juicy, to be full of drama, and it never happened.
That's usually what happens when you argue about religion or politics. People end up getting angry because if you said something logic to them, especially when you're talking about irrational beliefs, there's disonancia cognitiva, cognitive dissonance, and that hurts.
Mo, translate that, please.
Disonancia cognitiva.
Yeah, cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, cognitive
If more proofs.
So yeah, people tend to get angry when you attack their beliefs. It's normal.
I think someone told me that you did a discussion of a book that was about a priest. I believe it was called Padre Amaro.
Yes.
And it turned because the book was very harsh with religion, it turned out to be a bit controversial in the book discussion, but I don't know if it
I don't remember it being especially controversial. Like, it's not even against religion per se, or okay, we have to differentiate. It's not against God or the belief in a superior being. It's against the church and the organized religion. Right? So not about the personal beliefs, but about the organized religion part of it. So yeah, there was some debate, if I remember well, but nothing outrageous or anything. By the way, that was one author, Esa de Queiroz, that I discovered in because of our recommendations. Someone, after one of the book discussions, walking out of the Residencia de Estudiantes, someone approached and said, "Hey, have you read anything by Esa de Queiroz?" And I was like, "What? Queso de qué? Queso?" And he was like, "No, he's like the best ever Portuguese author that have ever existed. Like he's like one of the biggest figures of the universal literature or blah blah." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, look, I'm going to write it down. Just shut up and leave me alone." But then when I got home, I actually looked into it, and it was true, like what he was saying. Like in Portuguese literature, Esa de Queiroz is one of the biggest exponents. So we decided to read Los Maya, and it was awesome. It's delicious. I strongly recommend everybody to read it. And El Crimen del Padre Amaro is very good too. It's about the life of a priest, but it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the story about El Crimen del Padre Amaro.
So connected to that, if you have any recommendation for this time, like short stories or whatever, you can write to us and tell us. And we do listen sometimes. This one is a recommendation.
Yeah.
No, sometimes no, we do listen. It makes it seem like we're like, well, maybe today I'll look at the suggestions and maybe I will pick one, but no, we do pay attention to them and choose stories that people have suggested.
Okay. Okay, I have to go now, but
Yeah, I think
it's
we
been
could
a
all
pleasure.
Yeah.
leave at this point. Okay, thank you very much, Andrea.
Thank
and
you
everyone.
for thank you all for
Thank you,
coming.
Andrea.
Thank you. It was
See
great.
you on
It was
the
great.
next one, which is
Yeah.
on Thursday, I
I
guess.
don't remember.
No, it's on Tuesday. It's fine.
But no, but Tuesday
yours?
is in Spanish.
Oh, it's a
Spanish.
And the
Spanish one,
English
yeah.
one?
Yeah.
But if you want
What's the
to come to
English
the
one?
Spanish one, I think it will be very cool.
What's the
Just
English one?
shameless self-publicity.
From Ray Bradbury.
Oh,
Ah,
Sing the
yeah.
Body Electric.
Another Ray Bradbury one.
Yeah, the second one.
okay. See you there then.
Bye.
See you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.